Well, good morning. My name is Matt Clark. I'm the family pastor here. And Phil decided he wanted to take a break today. No, I asked him if I can share a message with you guys. And it's about comfort. We all like to live in comfort, right? Physical comfort, emotional comfort, spiritual comfort. We like the word comfort. We want to be in that. We want comfortable shoes. We want a comfortable bed. We want to wear comfortable clothes when we mow the yard. See, I don't know if you notice this, but if there's any students in here, or maybe some in the second service as well, that when you see your parents mowing the yard and something really weird, it's because they want to be comfortable. They don't have to wear the cool things. Like when I was younger and I would mow the yard, I would make sure because everyone would see me, No. Now I walk out there and I know Bailey goes, "Dad, you look weird." Mowing the yard or doing yard work or even taking the trash out. You ever seen a guy in his boxers and he's running out there? He doesn't care. He's comfortable. We all want to live in comfort. We want to marry someone who's comfortable. We want to have friends who make sure that we live a comfortable life. When we think of a vacation, we want it to be the luxury of comfort. Some of you, where are we at here? The green or the blue? Here. Some of you are watching on Facebook Live. That means you're sitting at home comfortable, okay? On your sofa, I'm assuming, or your bed. Now, I'm into comfort. The word I use is comfy, and it kind of drives my wife crazy all the time. It used to do this all the time. I would be we would go to watch a movie, and I would need to make sure that everything was set. And so that would mean I'd have to go get a snack, right? That's what you do. I'd have to make sure I go get comfy clothes on because I want to make sure I can, just chill out. And then I would get my comfy blanket. I know. I don't mean like a baby blanket, but a comfortable blanket because I want to snuggle up kind of thing. That's the way, and it would drive her crazy. Like, you and your comfiness. Of course, now, she's in the middle of a whole lot of comfy, right? She's in a comfy bed. She's got comfy PJs on, right, babe? She's probably watching at home. I love you, but you want comfy, right? We want that in our life. And for me, it was all about the comfy sheet. So I didn't like the blanket, but it was a sheet. And it's like this old sheet, but it was, there was other sheets that were brand new, and they were too crisp. And then there was a black and white sheet that Bailey, my son, would always see me wrapped around. Had this black and white sheet where, when I'd get comfy, we watch a movie. He's like, "Dad, why do you always have that sheet?" Because it's comfy. Until it was washed too many times, and then it became too soft. So I feel like Goldilocks a little bit because this one is just right. It's an old, ugly sheet from, who knows what kind of bedspread was this from the 90s. But this is the most comfortable blanket in the house that I always claim. There's two of them. And the other one's uglier than this, if you can believe that. This looks like a unicorn vomited on it, but it's comfy. That's what we want in life. Unfortunately, that's not at all what this message is about. This message is about not being comfortable. Don't get comfortable. So I want you to stand for the next 30 minutes. No, I'm kidding. That was pretty good. She was like, "Hey, okay, well, if that's..." No. Don't get comfortable. Those are the three words that I would say, if you were to remember anything today to walk away with, it's those three words. Don't be comfortable. Don't get comfortable. Let me see if you understand this or if you agree with this. When we live in His compassion, we leave our comfort. Got a slide up here. It says, when we live in His compassion, we leave our comfort. Would you agree with that? Yeah. In other words, when we're concerned about what God's concerned about, it changes how we live, and sometimes that changes our comfort level and makes us, at times, a little bit uncomfortable because we're concerned about what He's concerned. And He's concerned about the bigger picture of the entire world. Let me give you some examples in the Bible This morning, there's not one specific scripture text. I know we've been kind of going through Deuteronomy. We're hit and miss all over the place. So there'll be some scripture thrown up here. You'll take a look at that. Feel free to read in depth at home, but I'm just going to be doing some summarization on these. So when we get to Genesis 12, 1 through 3, we see Abram, who becomes Abraham. And here is a man that was called to leave everything. Leave your country, leave your people, leave your family, and go to a place that I show you. Mind you, it wasn't that God was even telling him at that moment where he was going to go. It was just go. You're not even going to know where it's at, but I want you to go. Because he left his comfort, the result of that was, I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. God's compassion for people compelled Abraham to leave his comfort. See, he had the bigger picture in mind, and yet needed Abram just to move out of his comfort zone just a tad. Don't get comfortable. Ananias is another one that we see in Acts 9, 1 through 19. And here, where we kind of jump in the story, where Saul, who is also the same guy as Paul, okay? Saul is actually hurting and hunting down anyone that is a Christ follower, who's following Christ's teachings. Men or women, he would actually go in and rip them out of their house and put them in jail. So could you imagine sitting at home and all of a sudden you know that you're a Christ follower and this person busts in your house and pulls you out, throws you in prison because of that reason? Sounds scary. And then he personally witnesses and approves Stephen being stoned to death. Here's this guy, he's completely okay with the murder that's happening before his eyes as they stone him, and in agreement with it. Saul's walking along the road. He sees this bright light. Jesus speaks. Saul loses his sight, and instructions were given. And the instructions were Jesus communicating to him, get up, go into the city, and you will be told what you must do next. Now, here's another moment of blind obedience, kind of literally and figuratively in this case, where he had to blindly obey. But actually, Saul's not the character that we're looking into. It's Ananias. So while Christ is communicating to Saul through this vision, he's just now blinded him, and he's telling him where to go and where to be in a location. He's also coming to Ananias and communicating to him and telling him what to do, and that he's got to go to Saul. And Ananias is going, what? You realize this is the guy who has been killing us, and he just stoned Stephen, was witness to it and approved of it. And this is what Ananias hears. But the Lord said to Ananias, go, this man is my chosen instrument to carry my name before the Gentiles and their kings and before the people of Israel. And then he kind of adds this, I will show him how much he must suffer for my name. Which basically meant Jesus was telling Ananias, I'm going to tell Saul, who later becomes Paul, by the way, don't get too comfortable. And Ananias went, fearing for his own life because of God's compassion. He left his comfort. God changed the face of Christianity by using Paul and his compassion to show compassion to the Gentiles, which affects all of us. God's compassion for people compelled Ananias to leave his comfort. And we're just getting started. That was just Ananias and Abram. That's the beginning of the alphabet. Wait till we get to Z for xylophone. It's not really easy. In both of these instances, God did something specific to show that the world mattered. He specifically came to someone, reached out to someone, communicated to them, moved them from their comfort zone so that he can show compassion. Don't get too comfortable. Now, moving out of my comfort, obviously, sometimes it compels me and causes me to question the status quo. I think that's what is a result of it when we're forced out of what we normally see. All of a sudden you start to go, wait a minute, is this how it should be? Is this what? And there's a great example in John 8, 1 through 11. The status quo was completely questioned when the people were about to stone an adulterous woman. The law of Moses, the Levitical law, says that we should stone her. They had in their hand the stones ready to go. It was written already for them, so they had the right. Then Jesus completely challenged the status quo of the time when he said, if any of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw the stone. I want to talk about comfort zone. It became a little uncomfortable. And it only took one person to drop the stone. The first stone of right, it was kind of like their right because it was written that we could, to influence all the others to let go. I mean, you think about that. There's a crowd of people there, and everyone is standing around. And if the mob mentality won that day, there would have been a dead woman because no one would have let go of the grip. But it even says one by one, and it was actually the older people. They have more to lose, right? The more you live, the more you realize, I can't live up. I can't live up to what God wants me to do in my life. I have sinned so great in my life. And one by one, they begin to drop their stones. I just imagine the first guy and the others. Because he thought, I know that this isn't the right thing. And everyone following suit. When someone was cut to the heart and realized the right to stone did not supersede their responsibility to obey, is when they left their comfort zone and into an entire world of full-on compassion, because Jesus had compassion for that woman. And I can only imagine, hopefully, that maybe some of those who dropped the stone realized that and felt that sting to also show compassion to others. Jesus' compassion for people compelled others to leave their comfort. Now, if I can, this message is kind of this one weird message. I kind of want to pause this message and go into something about family ministry, my role here since July. And then we'll kind of come back to this and wrap it up a little bit. Moving out of my comfort zone forces me to question and look at things differently. I think that does for everyone. It did in the instance with the stones there. So I question sometimes a lot of things. Sometimes I feel like what we do in church, quite honestly, God's given a facepalm going, you're doing it wrong. Oh my goodness, what are you guys doing? Please, body of Christ, why are you separating? Why are you so enamored with how to do this thing and the worship? And I just feel like God's going, you've got it all wrong. Look back at what we used to do. You can't throw it all out. Please understand. But it's not a bad thing to start to question why we do and the purpose. I think I even question the role of youth ministry. I mean, think about it. Why do we have youth ministry? It was created in the 40s. It's not like it's biblical. Why do we even do that? Why do we come together here as a family only to separate? I'm sure you've thought about that, right? I mean, we know what we've created in our role as a church, but the reality is, what could it be? What does it look like? So I invite you to kind of question the status quo. Best way for me to kind of explain a little bit of some of the things I want to communicate is through a gentleman named Reggie Joyner, who is actually started, he's children's minister, used to be family pastor at Andy Stanley's Alpharetta, Georgia, North Point. Sorry, thank you. And we've seen him in action at Orange conferences and all these kind of things. And they have, you can throw that back up there, they have the Orange philosophy that he's created, and now he's in charge of founding the Think Orange. And it's all about this. It's the church and the family coming together. It's the light of the church, yellow, with the love of the home, red, which makes a greater impact together. And that's why they called it Orange. And so they have curriculum and resources and all that kind of stuff. But really, more than that, it's a strategy. It's a new way. It's a better way of thinking about it. So there's only one way I can say it, and that's just watch the video. It's about 3-4 minutes. I'd love for you to hear what he says.
Think about this. Your church doesn't grow because you believe something. Your church grows when you do something about what you believe. The reason I know this is true is because I know a lot of churches who genuinely believe that God exists, they believe the Bible is true, and they're emphatic about believing the gospel. And guess what? They closed their doors and sold their buildings. It wasn't because they didn't believe, it's because they didn't act on what they believed. So are you ready? Let's have a conversation about what really matters in your church. And let's challenge each other to think about it in terms so that we can say what we believe in such a way that it moves us to do something about it. Sometimes we just need to be reminded because it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get preoccupied doing what doesn't really matter. I mean, can I say that? Is it okay to just agree that some things matter more than others, especially when it comes to influencing the community around your church? As a matter of fact, I can promise you, if you will do something about the list I'm about to give you, you will make a different kind of impact in your community. The reason I know it's easy to get distracted is because even the disciples got distracted and forgot what really mattered. They were so busy doing important work, they got a little self-centered. They got their priorities mixed up. They actually needed an attitude adjustment one specific day when they missed a critical opportunity. So Jesus did something specific to remind them about something that matters. It just so happens that what Jesus said that day has the potential to radically change your church. After the disciples had completely ignored and dismissed a group of children as insignificant, Jesus physically put a child in front of them and made this statement. Whoever welcomes a child in my name welcomes me. Jesus was basically saying how you treat kids is a reflection of how you treat me. Or stated another way, if you don't want to miss God, then pay attention to the kids around you. Okay, so here's your first profound and earth-shattering principle. Kids matter. I know you already know that, right? But let's talk about that for a few minutes. If that's true, then that means the kids at your house matter. And the kids at your neighbor's house matter. Kids who go to your church matter. And kids who don't go to your church matter. The kids in your town matter. The kids who go to the elementary school matter. Here's the big question, though. Do you act like kids matter? Notice what I didn't ask. Not do you believe kids matter, but do you act like kids matter? You see, the problem wasn't that the disciples didn't believe that kids matter. If you had asked them, they would have said, of course, sure, we believe kids matter. But that's not the question. Do you act like kids matter? You see, this is a personal question for you. The question is not, are there volunteers in your church that act like kids matter? Are there educators that act like kids matter? The question is, do you act like kids matter? This is also a practical question for your church. Does your church's behavior, priorities, energy, budget prove that kids matter? Now, I'm going to push the issue a little harder. Remember, I warned you that I would do that. So every time I tell you what matters, I'm going to add a qualifier to hopefully convince you how or how much it matters. So I'm going to say something that could seem a little controversial. Not only do kids matter, but kids matter more than adults. I know, that sounds like I'm saying the value of a kid's life is worth more than the value of an adult's life. But before you discredit the idea as too radical, think about it. Even your dog figures this out pretty quickly whenever a new baby arrives at the house. I'm not trying to devalue any human in any stage of life. The statement isn't intended to imply that an adult's life has any less value than a kid's life, nor that the world should in any way revolve around a child. But what it does suggest is that if you want to affect the way a generation sees the world, then it makes sense to start influencing their character and faith when they're young. And what I'm suggesting when it comes to the priorities of a church or the priorities of a community is this, and see if you agree. What you do for kids matters more than what you do for adults. I'm not saying what you do for adults is not important. I'm just suggesting the younger you start investing in coaching and teaching kids, the more impact it will make in their life later. Every expert agrees that the first 18 years of a person's life are extremely crucial in laying a foundation for their future. Because of that, we think each phase from birth through adolescence has distinctive opportunities you can leverage to influence a kid's future.
So, how do you feel about that? Yeah, I mean, go ahead. No, I'm asking you. Go ahead. How do you feel about that? Agree? Yeah. Does that pull you out of a comfort zone? Maybe? Yes? No? I think some people it would. The reality is, because of God's compassion and Him looking at the bigger picture, I think we all kind of naturally follow in that direction and say yes. So the challenge this morning is for us to not be in our comfort zone, to not be so comfortable in our life. So what does this mean for us at Safe Harbor and LifePoint? Because this is the same message I'm communicating to Safe Harbor next week as a whole, because many of you know we've combined youth ministries. We're putting children's ministry on the same path as well. So let me break down some of the things that are happening so you're aware and you can be excited and maybe even join us. Children's ministry. First of all, I would love to introduce, if they will come up, Izzy and Dawn, if you ladies would pop up here, give them a hand. Come on, you can come up here real quick. So, if you've been here longer than I have, obviously they need no introduction, but I just want to make sure if you haven't been here or you're new, that you understand. This is Dawn, and Dawn is going to be overseeing and coordinating the children's ministry for the garage area, so elementary, 1st through 5th. And then this is Izzy, Melissa, what we call her Izzy. Why, I don't know. We won't get into that. But she's going to be overseeing the junior garage in that area, and that's going to be birth through preschool, okay? So I just want to, this is official. We've been talking for some time. All the mechanics, those are those who are working in that area, all know this as well, but just wanted to make sure that you guys knew how much we appreciate you, love you. Thank you for your commitment, and I got to tell you, through the transition of Elizabeth and in my hectic life sometimes, these ladies have been a godsend. So thank you very much. You guys got to see it. I won't make you talk, but just want you to see their face, understand their heart. Dawn was able to go with us. Izzy was not, but she went to some of the Orange Tour where Reggie spoke, and so we're looking at going to the conferences and all that kind of stuff. Your participation may be either to go or to fund them to go. But the children's ministry, a couple of things. I just want to hit these real quick. One of the things we want to do is actually move the children's ministry into one children's ministry program during one service hour. We don't need to split them during 2 hours. So right now, we currently have children's ministry in 1 hour, the first hour, and the second hour. The idea would be to move it all into 1 hour so that we can utilize a bigger and better team to coordinate and be with the kids. Because this new curriculum that we'll be hitting requires a larger team. There's a sign-up sheet. We'll talk about that in a second in the back. Izzy needs 7 people every week. Don is going to probably need about 7 people every week as well to serve back there with them because kids matter, right? The second service would be our family service. So we're going to do some minor adjustments to the actual service and what that looks like. And so we want all kids to be a part of that, all right? So first service becomes the children's program. Second service becomes a part of the family ministry service. It's flipped over at Safe Harbor. That allows me also to be able to come over here during first service, be a part of the children's ministry team, and then run over to Safe Harbor if necessary and be a part of the children's ministry team. Vice versa, I can go to Safe Harbor first service and be a part of the family ministry service and then come over here. So it allows some flexibility. And then both churches, both campuses will be on the same curriculum. Now again, we're not trying to merge and do all this. Where we want to show the community that we can be different churches and still be different in a lot of ways, but yet work together for the glory of God. Matter of fact, we're going to be extending that even further in the student ministry. But let me finish. We also want those who are serving to serve, this is going to be painful, weekly, every week. Now that hurts. Safe Harbor has already experienced this. But when they said that in the very beginning to them, they were like, what, are you crazy? I can't even get enough volunteers and people to... But weekly? Student ministry, we've been doing that forever, every week. And the bottom line is, when you have someone in your kid's life every week, hey, I remember you had a play that was going on. How'd that go? Hey, I know that you had that soccer game. Tell me about it. Or, hey, I know there's something coming up. Can I go to it? A weekly interaction helps build a bridge with kids. Why? Because the kids are the future, not just the kids at LifePoint or at Safe Harbor or Central Baptist Church or Northland or in Florida, United States. Kids everywhere in the entire world matter because they're the next generation. Now, even when Reggie said kids matter more than adults, we get that. But understand, we need us old adults from the past to be speaking into the current kids to make a better future. Understand that. We need adults to be speaking into kids' lives at all ages. Now, student ministry. Less youth group and more family. Okay? That's kind of the goal. Less youth group, more family. We want more intergenerational mentorship. That's the family influence. We want more relational stewardship. That's going to be small groups for students. And then more authentic leadership. That's through one-on-one connections. My personal youth group experience was as a kid going through a divorce. At that time was a little bit messy and kind of painful. And the reality is, my father, in essence, disappeared for about some years during that time, and he wasn't around. And youth ministers and volunteers, not just the paid people, impacted and influenced my life so much that at 18, I said, God, I want to serve you. The impact that they made in me changed my life and the trajectory of my life. I want that for your kids. And guess what? I want you to have that for your kids. And I need you and want you to be leading in that as well. Because kids matter. I'm going to skip the core logistics. Here's the feat to some of this. We're going to kick off weekly small groups in the homes that will take place for student ministry. And we will need some to be leading small group discussions with students, middle school and high school. And then some of you may say, well, I can't teach, but I can sure open up my home. Again, there's sign-up sheets in the back. I would love for you, if you feel compelled, to actually go back there, and if you are just interested, okay, we're not saying you're committing to this. If you're just interested in learning more on how you can be a part of the children's ministry and serving on the team with Dawn and Izzy, if you're just interested in leading a small group for students, middle and high school students, or opening your home up, we would love for you to just sign your name on there and let us know. There's going to be some restructuring of because we're making sure that the small group, that one-on-one is important. See, I don't remember the messages that my youth ministers taught me, but I do remember them picking me up after school to go to McDonald's. I do remember them having one-on-one time. And so that's what the small groups are all about. The small groups are, yes, absolutely, we're breaking open the Bible, but we're also building a relationship one-on-one, that connection with the children and with the students in middle school and high school is vitally key. Our large group will change a little bit. So on Sunday nights in the future, first Sunday night will be middle school night, just for middle schoolers, have their own night. Second Sunday night will be family night. Let me tell you more about that. And lastly, the third will be high school night. Okay? And we've got some of these are coming down the pipeline. The dates, we're working with another church, Holy Cross, in Lake Mary, because Holy Cross happens to be, one, they have availability for us to meet at their facility, great facility, on Sunday nights. Number two, it's exactly in the middle of LifePoint and Safe Harbor. So we don't have to keep going back and forth. Because some of you may not know this, but every week we go, students go here, and the students go there, and students go here, students go there. So we'll have a mutual location in the middle at Holy Cross. Now, we're still in final talks and signing everything with them, but we're excited, and they're excited. They're like, hey, once a month we do this worship thing with our youth. Can you guys join us? Yes, we would love that. The big picture of the body together. Family ministry, imagine the entire family coming together, mom, dad, kids, and being a part of something where we're all learning and have a learning experience once a month. That's what we'll be introducing in the future. That family ministry experience will be integrated instead of kind of developed in departments or supplements. It's integrated with both youth and children. So in the future, our youth ministry and children's ministry is not this separate team. It's all one team. It's a part of the family ministry team together. So when we're planning and we're looking at the calendar and we're trying not to tax your time, we're doing it effectively because it's the family ministry looking at the big picture and how to reach the entire family. Now, please understand when I talk about family, you normally think of mom, dad, kid, cat, dog, right? Well, I'm single. I've never been married. Understand, we're talking about this nucleus of the family unit that is mom, dad, kid. But the bigger picture in which God is more concerned about, while He loves the family unit, I believe He created that for us to model and to see things and to teach and train, He's more concerned about the body of Christ, individuals in this world. So that means those of you who are single, not married, or whatever, you're a part of this. Your influence is just as needed. For those of you without kids who feel like, well, I'm just a grandpa and I'm just a grandma, I'm the crazy uncle, your involvement is needed for intergenerational mentorship in this family ministry. It's so important. If we go back to the message side and we look at some of these cases, we see that some of these cases that God jumped into someone's life, He in-positioned people so He can position people. He made Abraham uncomfortable in leaving his family to position him to be Father Abraham. He made Joseph uncomfortable in prison to position him to be on a throne. He made Esther uncomfortable to position her to save an oppressed people. Is God making you uncomfortable? Only to position you to serve or lead Now, what I want to make sure and you understand is this message is not about, hey, let's make people feel guilty and serve in the children's ministry. Understand, the serving and the uncomfortableness I'm talking about is beyond any of the walls of any church. If that means it's not here and it's at Safe Harbor or another church, that's the goal. If God's calling you there, go and be uncomfortable anywhere. You don't have to be here to be uncomfortable. You can be anywhere to be uncomfortable, right? Because we're living in what God's concern is, His compassion. Get in the habit of questioning your comfort. I have a confession. I take cold showers. Now, partly I love the thought of, have you ever been into a spring? We live in Florida. We jump in springs all the time. It's cold. You get into waist deep, and all of a sudden you're like, and you kind of do that breathing thing. And really the worst is when you get your shoulders all the way into the spring, and you're like, that feeling. But when you get out of the spring and you're in the sun, doesn't it feel really good? It's like this moment of uncomfortableness, and then you get out, and it's refreshing. I just imagine God taking us in these stories and these examples of characters in the Bible, saying, I'm going to make you uncomfortable a little bit, but the reality is I'm making the world a better place so that you can enjoy a little bit of sun time. Both ways. I take cold showers, and I get in there, and I'm not just saying like lukewarm. I'm talking about, and I dare you to try this. Tomorrow, done it. Every day for the last year, all the way cold. I stick my head up there first, and I'm like, and I'm like contemplating, and then all of a sudden I go for the gusto, and I'm in that thing, and my wife hears me. She hears me, she hears me doing this. She's like, oh, he's in the cold shower again. It all started from mission trip and me thinking about how they live and just going, and now when I get in the shower, I know this is weird. I'm just telling you this. I've been saying for quite some time, God, as I'm breathing, don't make me too comfortable. This is very uncomfortable, God. Don't make me too comfortable. Sometimes I think with our journey in cancer, I go, okay, Uncle, just let off a little bit. But God, don't make me too comfortable. Bring me to a place to understand who you are and where you want me to be in this life. As strange as it is, maybe a cold shower does that for me in the morning. It starts my day off right. It kind of starts my day focused. I feel a little refreshed. Plus, I'm not a morning person, and I would probably fall asleep. Actually, the reality is when I was younger, I would turn on the hot water, and it would be all nice and steamy, and I'd be so tired, so I'd decide, well, I'm just going to sit down here just for a second, and I'd be asleep on the floor. No lie. And I'd hear, Matthew, what are you doing? I'm in the shower, Mom. Yeah, that's what comfort does. Makes you lazy. When we get out of our comfort, it moves us. We like our music to be comfortable. We like our seats to be comfortable. We like someone else to take care of the children's ministry so that we're comfortable. Don't get too comfortable. Not with this building, not with the sound system, not with this church, not with this property, not with your friends, not with where you live, not with your life. He wants to move you into something greater. Let's pray.